In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in Black and White emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that shape our world.
Good evening, family, and welcome to another powerful episode of America in Black and White, where truth meets testimony and where our stories are honored, elevated, and reclaimed. I'm your host, Charles Zachary King, and tonight we're diving into a conversation about discipline, visibility, and the courage to rewrite your own narrative. Some people talk about hustle, but then there are those who embody it. Those who rise from the grind, from the grit, from the lessons learned in the trenches, and turn that into leadership, legacy, and impact. Tonight's guest is one of those rare individuals. He's an entrepreneur, a U.S. veteran, a builder of brands, a storyteller for the unseen, and the founder of PDP Media and Hustling 25/8. His journey stretches from turning wrenches on helicopters to turning professionals into powerhouses. From the bottom of the boardroom, from broke to boredom, from silence to visibility. Family, prepare yourselves because tonight we're sitting down with a man who doesn't just hustle, he hustles 25/8. Let's welcome Patrick Hart.
Let's
Hello,
go.
sir.
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing just excellent. How are you?
I'm good. I don't know what's up with this green screen. It got me looking all blurry and everything. Listen, I got to show up and show out for the people, so I want to make sure my screen look right. Come on, screen, get it right.
I want to welcome you back to the show, and I definitely appreciate you taking some time to come back here, especially in this new season as things are growing.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you having me here. So this is awesome.
Is there anything you'd like to say to the audience before we get into the show?
I would like to say, hey, thank you, audience, for gracing me and listening to my words, whether or not they make sense to you or not. Hopefully, it lands on you and finds you at the place you needs to be at the time it needs to find you. So just thank you for the audience. And listen, make sure you hit me up afterwards, especially if you have any questions or insights so we can collaborate. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, sir. Well, let's just start first because I really want to make sure that the people get to know a little bit more about you, Patrick Hart, and those good things that, how things started to where you got to now, where you are this actual leader that you are now.
I
So
appreciate it.
can,
Go ahead.
so can you tell us who was Patrick Hart before the titles, the platforms, and the recognition?
Oh, great question. First, let me say thank you for having me on the show. I first started by saying that, and thank you for the audience for taking the time to listen in. Like many people out here that's either watching this live or watching this on replay, man, I was just one of those guys that I grew up. My mom, she came from the struggle. I came from the struggle. It was her and me and my brother. So she was raising these two young men by herself. We didn't have any father figures in our life. So all we knew was hustle, right? That's all it was a hustle. So, I call myself, that healthcare guy. Everything that, I do today, I touch is hustling 25/8 is because that's where I come from. And a lot of people tend to want to shy away from their background once they reach a certain status. For me, listen, I resonate with those people because that's where I came from. And what, my message to folks out there is just because you came from somewhere doesn't mean you have to continue to be there. You can keep that same mentality, right? That hustle mentality, but use it in purposes that's going to help you continue to elevate and reach new heights and then impact other people. So my journey, man, was, I wouldn't say it's unique, but I go from hustling to my mom being a high school dropout to her being on drugs back in the 80s to me helping her get clean, to us not having lights, not having gas, to me going to 8 different elementary schools, to me finally, honestly, just finding one middle school to go to and catching the city bus, an hour-long drive one direction just to go to middle school and then come back because I was tired of all the transition in my life. I needed some stability. So I was like, I'll make that sacrifice for myself. So ever since then, man, what I've been doing is just making sacrifices, figuring life out, putting myself in different positions, entering different rooms, trying to be the version of myself that I always dreamt that I could be as a kid. And so that's what I do each and every day, man.
Wow. So with that being said, though, how can you tell us what was the thing that gave you this motivation, that gave you this drive, to be this successful individual that you are today?
I would honestly give all kudos to my mom. Even though she was a high school dropout and she had street sense, she taught us how to hustle. She taught us how to believe in ourselves. She taught us what confidence looks like. She taught me what resilience looked like. She taught me what overcoming obstacles with resilience looked like. She taught me how to get up and pick yourself back up when there's nothing else to do. You don't know how to move forward. So I give it all to my mom. But what that instilled in me, because we struggled so badly, that instilled in me intrinsically that I wanted to create a life that I never had before, right? So you read it in the bio. After high school, I joined the Army. I spent 6 years in the military, traveling, seeing the world, which was beautiful. And that was the best thing that ever happened for me, man, real talk. Because when you grow up somewhere, especially if you grew up in the hustle, what happens is you get into your own belief systems that it's the woe is me, or the man trying to keep me down, or it's always somebody trying to get over on you, and we just never accept ownership for the position or the situation we find ourselves in. I never wanted to use that as the backdrop for the reason why I couldn't find success. So after, in the military, man, I decided, okay, I'm gonna join the military because I couldn't afford to go to college. My mom didn't have, a college background. She couldn't help me navigate that journey because she never had any insight to apply for applications and to go to school. So I was like, man, the military was a great choice for me. I can get a skill set, I can earn money, and I get to travel and see the world. And that's the last part that hit me the most, when I got to travel and see the world, because even though we struggled here stateside, man, you go to other countries, people still live in shacks. There's still dirt floors, right? And I mean, and they grow their own food in a lot of situations, and the hustle is very real. So that just taught me how to get out of my own personal belief system, understand where I am, and just try to use my surrounding and the tools that God gave me, man, so I can push forward and I can create this life that I have today. So yeah.
Your upbringing teach you about discipline, resilience, or survival?
What's the question there?
What did your upbringing teach you about discipline, resilience, or survival?
It taught me everything, man. Everything. First, let me say this too. This is my second time being on the show. And my first time I was on the show was almost 2 years ago. You was the first person who gave me an opportunity. I wouldn't even say you gave me an opportunity, but you found me, right? At the time that I was working on my glow up, what that actually looked like. You and I connected and you invited me to be, on your show. And so this is the second go round, and I'm very thankful. And I want to point that out to anybody out there, because in 2 years, a lot have changed. A lot. I've navigated this entrepreneurial realm all by myself, right? Learning as I go, making mistakes as I go, paying people for services that they didn't deliver as I go. That's what we generally find ourselves into doing when you become entrepreneurs, because you're like, okay, you start thinking, man, if I'm visible, I can create opportunities for myself, right? Or if I get enough likes, if I get enough engagement, that means my business is gonna thrive. And so I started there, right? Like most entrepreneurs, we start there trying to be as visible as possible. But visibility doesn't pay the bills, right? It doesn't pay the bills. And so now at some point you got to figure out, damn, how do I pay the bills? And so that's the phase that I've moved into now. I went from learning to understanding to actually now being in action. Now I was doing action before, putting myself out there, but it wasn't the kind of action that drove the dollars and cents. And so now my resilience come from all those failures being an entrepreneur, right? In the moment that I'm at now. And then it also comes from those failures that I had, growing up as a kid without a dad. I didn't have two voices telling me right from wrong. I only knew one voice, and my mom didn't even have the right answers. So I'm being led by somebody who didn't have the right answers. But that taught me that sometimes you have to go out there, not only lean in on faith, but you actually have to go out there, grab life by the horn, so to speak, and navigate this journey yourself. No one else is going to do it for you. So you got to figure this out. And so that's where I'm at today, man. I wouldn't say I'm figuring it out at this point. I would say I'm still in that process of fine tuning exactly what I do, but I'm purpose led at this point. Like, I know what I'm doing. I know who I'm doing it for. I know the impact. People gravitate to me, and now we're making money in the process. So Brazilian, man, been there, done that. Let's keep moving on.
See, I mean, in those 2 years, I mean, you're absolutely right because I mean, there's been, what looks like to me. I mean, I don't know the deep details, but I see success,
Yes.
and I see the growth, and I also see the empowerments, the improvements, and the things that you're doing. And apparently, that is about that resilience. But in that whole process, because I think when people hear your story, and hear where you're going and how things started, I mean, that is the perfect example of excellence and and legacy building that a lot of people that have come from unfortunate situations need to understand and learn from. So, just with you, what are some of the words of wisdom and encouragement, though, for those that are listening that started in that same situation? What is it that you learned that they should learn?
Trust and believe in yourself. You hear it, it sounds so cliche. It really does. I almost hate rolling it off my tongue because it sounds like, what you would hear from an athlete or anybody else that's in my position. Just trust and believe in it. It sounds great, but you truly have to have the confidence in yourself that no matter what happened, you can figure it out, right? And that's the mindset you got to lead with. Like, you got to understand that, hey, this journey that we're on, this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And in this marathon, I'm going to stumble. I may come out of the block slow. I may miss that first hurdle, maybe been that second or third hurdle. But if I just get back up, keep trucking and moving forward, I'm going to figure this thing out. So that confidence come into play. And also should point this out too, man. 2 years ago, I was just starting my journey, right? Now it's been 2.5 years ago when you and I connected. In that 2.5 years, there's a lot of amazing things that have happened for me. And I would like to share this with everybody else. And the reason why is because I want to be the proof point for you to share with you that you can start from scratch. You can start just 100% on faith. You can start just by being purpose led like I was and accomplish amazing things in a shorter period of time. So in 2 years, let me just kind of run through what's happened. In 2 years, I joined a reality show. I was on reality TV where it was full-time film entrepreneurs behind the scenes on a 24/7 show where they paired entrepreneurs against each other. And then there was a grand prize awarded at the end. I did that, done that, right? Got the TV to show for it. In addition to that, I won Marquise's Who's Who Award for 2025, which, is an established award nationwide, globally, well recognized. I got that, been there, done that. I've been nominated and presented an award for Black Impact Magazine as one of the top entrepreneurs to know globally. Been there, done that. Got spotlighted by Scholarly Scouts, which they're heavily favored on LinkedIn, and they're all about helping STEM students find their opportunities. Been there, done that. Been on NBC News. Got featured as not only a veteran but spotlighted my book right here in Dallas Fort Worth. Been there, done that. What I'm saying, amazing things have happened to me in 2 years only because I decided that I believed in myself enough that I was going to put myself out there enough and had enough confidence to figure this shit out, right? And this is what I've been doing every single day. I'm still figuring this shit out, but I'm having fun in the process. Yep.
When you look back, at your childhood, what early signs of leadership do you now recognize?
For me, was my mom. And I keep going back to my mom because it's all I had, right? It's all I had. Her leadership was amazing because here's the thing. And I always equate this to the military because, I spent 6 years in the Army. But as a leader, what do you do when your soldiers stumble? You pause, you stop, you pick them back up. You ask them if they need assistance. If they don't, they let them figure it out. If they do need assistance, you provide it, right? and then you guys put on your rucksack and you start moving in the same direction together. That's what my mom did for me. Like, I would struggle at times. We struggled as a family, but she always paused enough to provide enough insight and love and encouragement to say, you know what, you can get back up. You can still move forward. And that's what I learned. Like, I learned my leadership from my mom. Then that continued on when I went to the military. Now I got discipline. Okay, I had leadership before from my mom, but now you get discipline. You learn how to move when they tell you to move. You learn how to get dressed when they tell you to dress. You learn how to aim and shoot when they tell you to aim and shoot. You get the discipline there. And now when you pair the two, you get that home training, that leadership. You get the discipline from the military. And then as I continue to elevate and navigate that corporate world, I learn more about leadership. I learned more about the power, how to empower and influence people. You put all that together, man, and I'm this version of that I am of myself today, and I'm still growing. And I look at myself, I was like, man, life may be halfway over, but that just means there's so much more that I can accomplish. And especially if you look at how much I've accomplished in the last 2.5 years, I'm like, imagine what the next 5 years are going to look like. So I'm super excited about where I'm at now. I'm super excited about, my messaging and the people that I impact. And I'm super excited about the journey. And, I'm always glad to be here with you, man.
I'm really happy that you're here too. So what moment in your life forced you to grow up the fastest?
I would say when my mom got strung out on drugs, and I point that out. And when I talk about my mom, and I talk about my mom a lot, she passed away 5 years ago this year. She passed away right during the pandemic. And, me and my mom was like that. We're peas in a pot. So I was this mom boy. And I would say for the first 3 years of her passing, man, I really struggled to identify who I was and what I wanted to accomplish, right? Like, there was a whole piece of my life that was gone. Like, there is a whole chapter that, is closed and you can't reopen it. It is what it is. And that was so impactful for me that it opened up my eyes and say, you know what? If you're only going to live once, what are you going to accomplish in that time you're going to be here? And so for me, I've always been leaning into those challenges. Now I face fear head on. I'm looking forward to the next journey. I'm looking forward to falling down, only because I know I have faith in myself that I can find a way to get back up, that I'm going to learn from it. And then in those moments of learning, that's when those growth happens. And I've been growing daily, man. So I would say my mom passing was a big impact for me. But going all the way back, even bigger than that, before she passed away, was when she got strung out on drugs. And I had to be, I was probably like 10, maybe 11, around that age. And back then, she wasn't going to like a facility to get treated for drug and alcohol abuse. It was at home. We're going to sweat this out. We're going to figure this out. And that was me. So I remember those times where we were living in Georgetown, Texas. I was in middle school. So Georgetown is right outside Austin, Texas. If anybody's ever familiar with it, it's about good 20, it's about 30, 35 minutes north of Austin, right? We was living there. I was going there for middle school. And my mom was recovering from drugs. And during this time, we lived in this small little house. We were renting this house. And I remember this like it was yesterday. It was middle of the winter. The lights was off. The only thing we had was gas, but the lights was off. And my mom is in there shaking and shivering because she's sweating, she's trying to go through the detox process to clean herself out. And it was time for us to eat. And for whatever reason, the stove wasn't working right. So I go outside, I light up the grill. We use paper to light up the grill, and I'm cooking stuff on the grill with a pot, right? And I remember I'm like 10, 11 years old, just so I can go back and feed my mom and take care of her. That was a defining moment for me, because I knew we were struggling. Like, we were literally struggling. Not only were we struggling financially, but we were struggling emotionally. We were struggling mentally. Like, we were struggling as a unit. And that left an impression on me that I never wanted to struggle. I never wanted to struggle. So to this day, I got 4 boys. My oldest son is 34. My youngest son is 21, right? My youngest son, he plays college football. And I also have 2 grandkids, 13 and 8 years old. So, 14 and 8 years old. Thank you. So I got my 2 grandkids. Neither one of them in their entire life know what struggle is like. Never had gas cut off, never had the lights cut off, never worried about where money's going to come from. Always was, active in sports if they wanted to play sports. All that is because the belief that I had in myself that I didn't want them to experience what I experienced. So I always give myself a pat on the back for migrating, becoming this version of myself, and then creating the future. We're talking about future leaders within my family who now they can pass this on. So this is what we're doing is breaking that generational cycle. We're not growing up as strugglers. We're growing up from a great starting point to now where they can pass the baton and we can get bigger and better each and every time.
Into you when you didn't yet know who you were becoming?
What's that question?
Who poured into you when you didn't yet know who you were becoming?
Oh, I'll probably say my wife. I would say my wife. We've always been a support system with one another. Like I'm her biggest fan. I feel like she's my biggest fan as well. In fact, I know she's my biggest fan because 3 years ago when I stepped out on faith and I said I'm going to be a full-time entrepreneur and leave, this corporate career making, all this money. We're talking about I'm walking away from, over 300 plus $1,000 a year is what I'm making to go from to zero. And so she's been my biggest supporter. But when you tell somebody that, hey, I feel like I'm purpose led, I feel like there's another chapter for me that I need to actually live and experience, and then you look them in the eye and they look you back in the eye and they say, you know what, I got you, dude. That's everything. I can get emotional talking about it. I can break down crying talking about that, because for someone to believe in you that much like that, I have no choice but to keep going up, keep excelling. You know what I'm saying? Like that's absolutely amazing. So my wife has been my biggest supporter outside of my mom. But now my wife has took the place and my mom is no longer here. Yep.
Over to your Army experience.
Yeah.
So what led you to join the Army?
I was looking for opportunities, man. And I was one of those kids, like many kids, I was a dreamer. Like I would, and still to this day, like, some people, they go to sleep at night and you ask them, well, what was your dream about? They're like, I don't know. I don't dream. I never dream. I can't remember. Dude, I'm one of those people. I dream every single night, like literally. Now, most days I don't remember my dreams, but a lot of days I'll remember my dreams. And so that was always me as a kid. And when you're looking around, you're looking at shacks and you wake up, you're cold and you're waking up, you're hungry. The only thing you have is your own thoughts at that point. So in my thoughts, I'm like, what would it be like to live in a mansion? What would it be like to actually have a running car? What would it be like to have this, that, and the other, right? So I was always this dreamer. And I decided I wanted to turn my dreams into reality. So no longer want to struggle. I didn't want to be out the hood. I wanted to go to college. I real talk, I wanted to go to college. I ran track and I was pretty good at track. I was hopeful that I was going to get this scholarship for track. But unlike these kids nowadays where they have professional trainers and coaches that hold them up, I didn't have that. I didn't have any collegiate or high school support system. In fact, my mom, she only went to one of my games, and that includes basketball, track, and football. So I didn't have a great support system, during that process. So I thought I was going to be a track guy, but then I couldn't get my time where I needed to be. And I would imagine if I had some additional coaching, I probably could have got there. So the scholarship that I thought I was going to get actually fell through. And then I had a couple of buddies of mine. They were actually joining the military. And they was like, Pat, listen, we're going to be doing this, that, and the other. You should consider joining. I was like, dude, who wants to join the military? Like, for real? I don't want to pick up any guns. And like, that's not me, dude. That's not even me. And so here it is. It was probably about 2 or 3 weeks away from high school graduation. And I'm still scratching my head thinking, dude, how am I going to get to college? Because my mom is not going to help me out. How am I going to get to college? And so my best alternative for me was the military. I was okay. So I started weighing the pros and cons. Man, if I join the military, not only can I pick up a skill, but I can get the GI Bill. And then if I get the GI Bill, I can use that to actually go to school, right? So I was looking at how do I navigate? I was doing all that pre-planning as this young 18-year-old kid. How am I going to get the life that I really wanted for myself? So I pivoted. I joined the military with my buddy, signed up for 6 years right off the bat. And I stuck to my guns, which is I was focused on allowing the military to benefit me as much as I was allowing myself to benefit them. So meaning if I'm going to be all these deployments, protecting and serving these 24-hour duty stations, the whole nine, I was going to make sure I use the benefits that came from the military to better myself. So when I was getting ready to transition out of the military, I was like, okay, I still hadn't went to school yet. What do I want to do, right? What do I want to do? And I decided I was going to be this airline pilot. And I realized that Okay, I got accepted to flight school. We moved to a whole nother state, whole family. I started flight school and realized I can't afford flight school, but I still got the military's backing, like they're going to pay for school. So I dropped out of flight school and I started going to get my bachelor's degree from University of Phoenix. That was the starting point of the version of myself that I am today. Like that was the chapter outside of the military where life truly began for me. And I started using the resources like the GI Bill to better myself, to have, personal improvements so I can become the version of myself that I am today.
So, how did working as an aircraft mechanic shape your mindset?
That was great. I mean, well, one, you learned about camaraderie, right? You learned about collective, agreements, learning with each other. You learn how to be thorough too, especially in my position, because I was a helicopter mechanic. Aircraft, they can't go up with faulty systems. So if there's check marks in the log books, those check marks have to be logged off. Everything has to be straight before these, $1 million aircrafts go up in there with people in it. So I had to do my job. And so in doing your job, you have to be crystal clear on not only your job, but you're checking off your job and the work of everybody else, all your peers or subordinates underneath you. Because I got promoted fairly quickly. I mean, it was like 2 years in, I was sergeant in the military. And so all my peers that joined with me, here they are, they're still PFCs and specialists. And you go from being a peer to a leader, and that changes the whole dynamics of your relationship you have with your folks, right? You're like, okay, the same people that I shoot the shit with at night, I have to hold them accountable for their lack of work ethic. And so you learn a lot about yourself, you learn a lot about leadership, you learn a lot about, how to impact and influence people. And that was my journey, man. It helped shape who I am today and how I lead, individuals now.
From military life still guide your decisions today?
Say that again.
What lessons from military life still guide your decisions today?
Learning how to follow, that still guides my decisions today. And I say that because everybody wants to step in and be a leader. And, if you're looking at yourself and you starting out at, entry level, and then you work your way up to a director, and then you work your way up to, a manager, and then an executive in the C-suite. Everybody wants to be a leader, but in today's age, it feels like nobody wants to follow. And for me, that was the biggest thing I learned. I was like, okay, if you're going to lead somebody, you have to learn how to follow. And part of following is not just following behind somebody, but is mimicking what they do, being a sponge, picking up, what they have to offer, and then putting your own personal spin on it as well. Understanding how that impact and influence looks like, how to motivate people, how to speak to people, especially when it comes to review times. It's some of the most sensitive times in life when someone's looking right across for you and say, hey, Charles, I need to talk to you about your performance for the year. And this is where a lot of employees decide to disengage with organizations because they didn't get the review that they wanted, or they didn't get the pay raise that they were looking for. And so strategically, how do I do that in such a way to make people feel valued and comfortable, but still part of the team? So, I learned a lot from that, how to follow, how to lead, and I still take that with me today.
What did the Army teach you about leadership that corporate America never could?
How to shoot a gun. How to shoot it. You're not gonna get that in corporate America. How to shoot a gun. That's one thing. And in corporate America, we generally have systems in place, right? They call them processes, right? In the military, you got more of a chain of command. Your system of process is you take directions and you follow those directions. And then as you transition out and you go into the corporate world, it's not necessarily taking directions. It's, hey, you need to be following these processes. And you're like, what the freak is a process? Basically, a process is a rule. And in those rules, certain outcomes are supposed to take place. So for me, I was learning how to follow rules because I learned how to take direction, but learning how to follow rules is two different things. And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck as they're transitioning out of the military. Because it's two different worlds. And then the vernacular, the corporate vernacular, how do you speak to people? What do you say to people? What does executive presence look like? When to speak up, when not to speak up. All those are learning moments as young leaders as we're navigating, that pivot and journey from the military into the corporate lifestyle.
So, how did the service change your understanding of discipline and execution?
I mean, I would say for pretty much everything that I mentioned, that the discipline, they're going to instill that into you anyway. I think, as a young soldier, you don't really have a choice, so to speak, into whether or not you follow direction or not, because it is what it is. It's either you're following direction or you're getting kicked out of the military, right? So you don't really have much of a choice. You can think it's your choice, and some people make it the choice, it's not for them, and then they end up getting kicked out of the military, right? So they lose income and benefits or whatnot else. But for me, that was just it's just about that, being obedient to the fault that you would do anything that someone tell you to do, and respecting people for their rank and not necessarily for who they are or their personal beliefs. I think that's a big thing nowadays too, especially in the era of the time that we live in. People are so far on the left and the right, and it gets super political. But can we respect people for who they are? That one, they're still people. Two, everybody's entitled to an opinion. You don't have to agree with it, but can we move forward even in disagreement and still, take care of our families in the end, right? And so I think that's a big thing that you're always going to learn or pick up on or glean from as you transition from the military into that corporate world.
But the structure and the discipline that the military, helps you to pursue and understand, and thinking about how things started in the beginning of your life to get to the point then where you're in the military. Can you tell us what was so valuable about the discipline and the structure that the military helped you to get in order to move forward in life?
That's a good reflection question right there. What was so valuable that helped me get to where I'm at today?
Mhm.
Uh, how I would still probably go back to following, learning how to follow somebody. There's discipline in following. People don't realize that. Following somebody takes discipline, because not only are you following them, but you're learning how to shut your mouth. You're learning how to use your eyes. You're learning how to use your hands without words. You're learning how to react without emotions. That's discipline, right? You have to do all of that in the military, and all of that taught me, which leads to executive presence. How do you navigate? You walk into a room, you command the room. How do you look people in the face? How do you deliver your message without offending people? How can you get your point without rambling? How can you navigate and control an audience without coming small? You learn all of that in the military. So that military is like extremely powerful for a lot of the things that we do today as executives, or a lot of the things that I do in the way that I show up. So I'm grateful for my experience. I'm grateful for what it taught me, because now I'm using a lot of that framework through a lot of my courses and tools that I talk to people about as well.
From the military to your civilian and corporate life, because as you see, we're actually building up this ladder as you're going up this ladder. And I think it's pretty much it's a really great thing. But I think for as to when you transition from the military, a lot of people don't quite know, they don't have that head on right as to what do I do next.
Right.
And it's almost like that prison
It
complex,
is.
because when you come out and it's like, okay, now you're out there, what do you do? Now, before I go into this first question, but I want you to give us give us a summation of this, because I want to know, what was your mindset when you decided you were going to leave the military and you were going to come out into the corporate world? How did that work for you, and where did you see what was there already to help you to transition?
Oh, excellent question. I knew, I mean, and this is my vision, right? Remember, I told you I was a dreamer. I knew going into the military that the military was going to be short term for me. I knew I was only going to do one tour of duty, right? So whatever I signed up for, that's what I was going to do. I was going to benefit from the GI Bill so I can get my education, so I can move forward or in a different direction in life, right? So when I signed up for 6 years, I was thinking, man, that's a lot of years. You this 18, 19-year-old kid, and you're like, dude, I'm going to be like mid 20s when I get like, life is over. This is what you feel like. Man, life is going to be over, but it wasn't. And so me having that mindset, already knowing I was going to get out of the military at the end of my term, I was so focused. So I wanted to make sure I stayed committed to the military, but not so much, not so committed that I didn't know how to walk away and focus on the goals that I have for myself. So I had a lot of my friends that, the two that went in with me, They ended up staying 15, 18, 120, I think 25, something like 25 years. He just probably got out a couple of years ago. And he stayed in the whole time. But for me, that wasn't my purpose. That wasn't my duty. That wasn't my belief. That wasn't my vision. It wasn't my dream for myself. So me staying focused on what I wanted in life helped me, because I knew that there was chapters in life, right? And that's how I always looked at life. Life is a chapter. If this chapter doesn't work out for you, eventually you're going to turn the page and you're going to move on. I think that adds to the resiliency, right? I may be stuck at this very moment, but at some point that chapter is going to change and I'm going to move on. And so for me, I knew I was in a chapter and I knew that page was going to turn at some point. And so that kept me focused, that I could figure anything out that I wanted to. Like, I signed up for the military and I'm over here protecting and defending our country in the middle of the night in countries that I've never been in before. If I can do that, why can't I bet on myself? Like, for real, why can't? That's my mindset, right? And so I carried that with me outside of the military. And I think that's what helped me just staying dialed in, staying focused, that life is bigger. My goals were greater than where I'm at today. And listen, I'm not saying anything bad about the military, because the military gave me my opportunity. What I'm saying, for me, that wasn't my vision long term. My vision long term was bigger, better, greater, a different kind of impact for my life. So I spent the 6 years, transition out of it, stay focused that, hey, I wanted something bigger for myself. And that helped me. All right. I'm not sure what's helping other people, but that's what helped me staying focused on my goals.
Hardest part of transitioning from the military to the corporate world?
No money. No money. No money. That's the biggest part. That is the biggest part. Like, when unless you have a big, support system where you can come out of the military. In the military, you're going to get paid on the 1st and the 15th, right? Every 2 weeks, you're going to get your money. It's in your account. In fact, we call them allotments, right? All that was direct deposits. You would have an allotment set up. Your car's paid for. This and that was paid for. Everything was paid up for. So the minute you get your check, all your bills were paid for. Whatever was left, you're spending it, right? Mm-hmm. Well, we get so focused on living check to check that it prevents us from navigating away from the military, right? Mm-hmm. And so this is where a lot of people get stuck. This is where I wanted to make sure I was stacking my chips. So when it was time for me to get out, at least I had somewhat of a nest egg. And for me, I ended up saving. It was like 3 or 4 months worth of just savings. I figured, okay, that would be a great start. I can figure everything out myself. And that's what happened. I had to end up figuring things out. You take odds and end jobs to pay the bills. You figure things out. Were there moments of doubt? Absolutely. I mean, there was one particular moment that I was like, man, I should probably just go back to the military. Like, really, I was just thinking I should probably just go back to the military because I don't have no money. My checkings and savings, and it ain't checking and saving anymore. In fact, I feel like I'm spending more than what I'm making, and like it was, because I got this family. They're like, this is not gonna work. This is not gonna work. But listen, you lean in your faith, you lean in on your purpose, you lean in on your vision, and then you work to make that happen. And that's what worked for me.
And speaking of that, you're speaking of those paychecks, because that's a semi-monthly paycheck is what we were getting.
Yes.
The 1st and the 15th, because primarily you're really getting one paycheck a month. You're really getting one.
That's it.
So with that, because that's a lot of discipline, especially having to have the ability to be able to ration money rationally in order for you to live. Because most of us that went into the military, we came in as an E1, especially if you didn't have ROTC experience. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, and you having to work yourself up into these positions, but you saying you were saving money, what was the thing that you charted for yourself, that this is what you're going to allocate for your savings? How and why did you do that?
My savings, I put it like this. I shared with you that, I came from a single family, just my mom, no dad. There's also my brother. We're 5.5 years apart. He's 5.5 years younger than me. So I'm the oldest of 2. Even when I was in the military, we struggled. Like, the struggle was still there. So like, when you go into the military, people think, oh, your life is great. You got all this money. Right. Dude, E1, E2, you ain't making jack, dude. You ain't making no money. You barely got enough to freaking get your car washed and go to a couple of movies. You ain't making no money. So here I am, this young, navigating the ranks. Mom's still struggling. So is my brother. I'm making what little money that I have, providing for myself, and sending money back home. So whatever little coins that I had, I was working on saving. Like I was a true hustler back then because I was so committed to myself and the vision that I had for myself. I was going to make it work. I was going to make it work no matter what. And so here's something where a lot of people, they fall off. As you make more money, you have to learn to pay yourself. As you make more money, you have to learn to pay yourself. And what I mean by that, just because you're making more money doesn't mean you spend more money. You make more money to save more money so you can use that money for other greater adventures for yourself. So that was my mindset. And I was able to get that because when you come from no money, you value money. You value every piece of money. At least I did. So I valued every single penny that I had. And I got really frugal at how and when I spend money. And even to this day, like if we would say, me and my wife, we've been together for 27 years. We've been married for 24. It'll be 25 this year. At the end of December, it'll be 25 years we've been together, right? Married. So we've been together a long time. And one of the pet peeves that my wife had for me today is I'm extremely frugal. Like she's like, baby, we should do this. We should do that. We should do this. I'm like, well, how much is that going to cost? That's my first thought. How much is that going to cost? That's always my first thought. And she hates me for that one thing right there. Man, can you get out of your head? How much is going to, I can't. Because everything is dollars and cents for me. It's just the way I process. So I keep that in everything that I do in life. If it doesn't make financial sense to me mentally, I'm not doing it. Like I'm not trying to spend that money. And she's like, you can't take it with you. And I was like, I get that. But right now I can manage it. And so that's what I do. I manage it, man.
So, how did you climb from the bottom of the boardroom in healthcare tech?
Listen, a lot of us, we find ourselves in places that we never thought we would be, and that was me. And some of these places are good places. Like we're not talking about in broken alleys, behind somebody's curtain or on the floor. I found myself in places that I never thought I would be. Like you would dream, but to actually be there, you're like, wow, this is like me. Like I'm actually here, and we're actually doing this thing. And I think that a lot of that was just still believing in myself, focus on those goals. But the big thing too is not only having confidence, but having enough confidence to know that you can almost do whatever you put your mind to. So I used to look at jobs that I really, really wanted, let's say in an executive level job. And then they tell you all these things that you need to have. You need to have 10 years of this, 7 years of this, 3 years of this. You need to have, master's degree, bachelor's degree, all these qualifications. And I was like, well, do you really need to have all that stuff? Or can you have like really dope experience? And so I was always one of those guys, if I have dope experiences and I have this gift of gab where I can actually talk to you, don't get me in front of a recruiter, because you get me in front of a recruiter, it's over. Like I'm gonna sell myself. So I was like, let me use my gift of gab that I have. And I was always bet on myself. So I would apply for the positions that were like technically outside of my range. And so the bigger opportunity came for me, I would say in 2015, where I became a healthcare technology executive. I went from healthcare on the provider side to healthcare technology on the technology side. And we're talking about going from here to here overnight, here to here overnight. So I became an executive leader. I was a vice president of a business unit serving 8,000 customers nationwide, had a business development team in Chennai, India. Collectively, my whole team was probably comprised of about 50, 55 people. So it was a big team. And here I was, this was my first big executive position. What do you do in those situations? You got to figure it out. It takes a moment first where you sit down and you're like, man, am I really here? Like, is this thing really, really happening? So where you got to get past that, then you have to learn how to lean on other people to fill in for gaps that you don't have. And that's the biggest thing I think a lot of us, we miss, is we think we have to know everything. And I was one of those guys that I learned from the military. I don't need to know everything. I just need to know the right people that I can put in place where they can do that one job and do it very well, so I can move on to other things as well. So that helped me out tremendously. Confidence, doing shit that I wasn't supposed to be doing technically, right? Putting myself out there. And then once I get these opportunities, I'm running with it. I'm going to be the best person in that position ever. So all of that led me to a successful exit at the end of 2018, where that technology company was sold for a lot of money. I was one of the few people who looked like me that was actually on the executive team when it happened. And that changed my life. And I'm grateful for that experience. And now I'm using all of that knowledge and insight to help people change their life as well.
What shifts were necessary for you to succeed in corporate spaces?
I didn't catch the first part of it.
What mindset shifts were necessary for you to succeed in corporate spaces?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, the last part that I shared is that you don't have to know everything to be successful at your job. You just have to know how to use other people's skills and allow people to show up the way that they want to, as long as they're following the correct processes, anything could be possible. So, that was the biggest thing for me, just learning how to allow people to use their skills to benefit the organization, which in turn benefited me.
Mhm. What does professional visibility mean to you?
Professional visibility.
Yes.
Hmm. Professional visibility. It feels like we're on this like a dating show. What would you do with this? Is like so professional visibility. I don't know. Professional visibility. I've always been one of those guys that I equated visibility with looks, right? You know what I'm saying? Like you feel like what a manager should look like, what a leader should look like. And so for me, I always wanted to give off the impression that I either knew more than what I did. So when I show up, I'm showing up, like this each and every day. Like I'm dressed to impress because I want you to look at Pat and be like, dude, not only is he the sharpest guy in the room, but he's probably the smartest guy in the room. Was I? Absolutely not. But I was probably one of the best looking guys in the room. And I did that intentionally because that gives off power and influence. I figure if I can give you power and influence, then I can also get a piece of you that gives me credibility. So I always leaned into that credibility to help navigate, my journey. And so for anybody out there, listen, you hear that fake it till you make it. Are you faking it? Maybe not. What you're doing is you're finding comfort in the uncomfortable. That's what we're doing, right? And so each and every time I'm always trying to find comfort in being uncomfortable. And that's why I became an entrepreneur as well, because I felt like I was getting too comfortable just doing that executive leadership stuff. Now let's do it, become an entrepreneur and figure this shit out ourselves. And this is where I'm at, man. And I'm loving it.
You realize you were outgrowing corporate America.
Man, this was probably right after the acquisition happened. It was end of 2018, um, right during the pandemic. We were probably 2021. I was working for a little small startup company, and I was like, dude, here I am again for another startup. And I like startups because of the risk. There's a lot of risk and rewards with startups, right? A lot of people don't like that because your resume, you can go from I've been here a year and a half, I've been from here a year and a half, I've been here a year and a half, and they're like, why are you? Because I put myself out there and I'm not afraid of these startups, right? So that was me. But the risk was I decided, or I found out, like working for these other organizations, how they were benefiting from my network to drive revenue. And this was the last startup that I worked at, and I was like, dude, I built up this following across LinkedIn. I started out in LinkedIn in like 2009. So here it is. We're 17, 18 years later. I still have that same LinkedIn account. And I built up these followings over the years. And I was using that same network to benefit these organizations to help them grow money. And some of these deals that we were working on were multi-million-dollar deals that were closed. And I was like, okay, damn, if I can help this organization drive in multi-millions of dollars, what if I turn that network around to work for me? And so that's always been my thought process now. Now let's grow a network so we can collaborate, we can work together, we can kind of make the money that I would be making for these organizations. So that was my biggest mindset shift, and that's how I knew it was time for me to make that pivot, because I wasn't getting any more of it. I wasn't fulfilled anymore. I felt like there was a greater purpose and a new challenge that I needed to tackle.
Over to your entrepreneurship and your company, PDP Media. So, first of all, what inspired you to create your media company?
Digital media sounds sexy. Let's start there. Listen, digital media sounds sexy. Everybody had a digital media company. I felt like with digital media, you can encompass so many different things. Like it could be like a baseline for other growth verticals. So I wanted to create a media company because I love storytelling. I love telling stories. I love talking to people while they share their stories. I love listening to stories because remember, we go back, I was a dreamer and I find inspiration in people's dreams. I feel like it's so impactful when somebody wake up and be like, man, you won't believe what I dreamed of. I'm like, well, tell me more. Let's tell me more because I'm excited about those dreams. And what I realized is, dude, there's a lot of people like me who are dreamers, but they're stuck. They really stuck. They're like, I got this big dream and I want to figure out how to make it work. This is where I come in. Let's make those dreams work. And I felt like digital media was the place for me because I can take those stories and we can make those dreams come to reality. So that's why I leaned in on digital media, and that's why I created PDP Media. And I think I broke the news 2 years ago. I think you're the only network that I shared this on. PDP Media actually stands for People Dig People Media. So People Dig People Media is what it was about because people resonate with people. And so that's what PDP Media starts with. And that's why I started a digital media platform. And now, and I'm not sure if this is a question or not, but now I've also added on Hustling 25/8, which is my newsletter. And are we going to talk about this? Do you have that question listed down?
Well, we're gonna get to that part, but you can go ahead and as you're answering, that's fine.
Okay, yeah, because well, I mean, if we're going to talk about Hustling 25/8, that's going to be great because that's going to be a new this, and it was not going to be. It's a new venture that I'm doing. For me, I feel like it's putting entrepreneurship on the map, making it visible, and then creating opportunities. But we'll get to it.
I got a couple of comments here in the chat, and this first one here, I definitely appreciate this. This person says that I put my glasses on because I'm trying to read, so I don't want to disrespect you. When you says this is an awesome platform, but I want to thank you for that. And again, I can't quite see that, even though I got my glasses on, it's kind of small. This second one here is greetings to the host and the guest from, oh Lord,
Misha?
Misha.
Yep.
Okay. Hey, Misha. So we appreciate that. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope that you learn and like a lot about this show as well. And our this last one here is let's see, what does this say? Greetings again. Just subscribe. Great discussion.
So Royal Mish. Hey, good to see you. Appreciate
Okay.
you tuning in.
Yes, that's definitely great. When we talk about your entrepreneurship and your media company, can you tell us what gap did you see in the market that others were ignoring?
Honestly, you know what? People always tell you two things. They tell you one is find a gap, right? Or find your niche. And I don't feel like I had a gap or a niche, but I knew I had a voice and I knew how to message. And I felt like I was going to figure things out like I've done my whole entire life. And so when I originally started leaning into my media company, I was like, okay, I want to give people who look like me a platform and where they can actually share their voice. And then we can talk through some of the challenges that they find themselves at that I also went through myself, right? So that was my initial thinking. But then as, I've been doing this a couple more years, you do somewhat have to get a little bit more strategic. You have to really niche down if you're going to get the brand awareness and presence that you're looking for. So what people need to understand is you're not, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? You're not selling out. You're selling in to the people who actually you need to help and influence. So me today is focused on mid-professionals and entrepreneurs. If you find yourself in that range, you're a mid-professional, you're an entrepreneur, this is a reason why you want to connect to me, whether it's my digital media company or my newsletter, Hustling 25/8, because the journey that you're on, I've been there, done that. A lot of the challenges that you face, been there, done that. A lot of the experiences that you're going to have, I've experienced those already. So I would like to be almost like a big brother, so to speak, to help people navigate their careers as well. So my focus today is really leaning into my niche, mid-professionals and entrepreneurs. If you're on that journey, take it with me, and I help you introduce you and create the life that you've been looking for.
With your media company, what are some of the things that you're doing that's we understand when you said what it's about because it's about the people.
Yeah.
But how are the people? How are you relating this to the people that's in your surrounding area, your communities, and so forth? How are you bringing these people into the fold?
Part of this is what we're doing now. These podcasts, this is all part of media, right? This is media. We're in this new age of technology where everybody, 90% of people have a phone in their hand, and they spend just as much time in their phone as they used to sitting down watching, an episode of TV. And some people are doing both. You're sitting down watching TV and you're on your phone. So as we navigate into this new age of influence, I've always felt that visibility was the key. And if people are in their phone, why can't I be one of the faces that's in their phone, right? And so I always wanted to be a face that was in their phone, but using that visibility, what my message is, and what I'm trying to help people do is help create your own personal visibility. So let me help you navigate and walk you through that. How do you grow confidence? How do you place yourself in uncomfortable situations? How do you lead through those situations? And what a lot of stuff that I do now is help you tell those stories, whether it's on the camera, behind the camera, in writing, whatever. I help you navigate that journey by using my platform to create your visibility. And then now I'm also showing people strategically how to take action where you can create the kind of wealth that you're looking for yourself. So a couple of reasons why you want to connect and engage with your boy.
PDP Media help people own their story.
Absolutely. That's what it's about. I mean, 100%. Here, if you're not telling your story, somebody else will. And now we're in this day and age, like for real talk, somebody else will. We're in this day and age where you've probably seen it on TV. Certain libraries are getting closed. Certain books are getting taken off the shelves. Museums are being closed down. Statues are being put up. Statues are being taken down. Some of this feels like it's trying to erase history, right? That's what it feels like. If you're going to be here, why can't we create your own history? You're only going to live once, right? And so we don't want somebody else telling the story. Well, Patrick, he did this in his life. I want to create my own story, and then I want to navigate it through it. So this is what it's about. Let's create your own story. Let's navigate through it. You don't have to be the version who you was yesterday in order to become the version that you are tomorrow. My message to folks out there, it's okay to pivot. It's okay to change, because it's the same thing. If people ask me all the time, how you and your wife, man, how have y'all been married for 20, 24, 25 years? We actually been together now longer than we have been apart. This is we're at that stage in our relationship. And I always share with people, there's understanding. There's understanding that who you married in the beginning may not be who they are today, because as people age, their vision changes for themselves. The goals that they have for themselves change. And you have to be that kind of person who is willing to accept, better or worse, hey, this is my partner in life. This is who I'm going to be with. And I'm going to support them if they want to be this person, if they want to do that. And so that's just me. And I use that same message when it comes to your life and your career. Just because you were X doesn't mean you got to be X tomorrow. You could be whoever the hell you want to be, right? Don't be influenced by your family, your cousins, anybody else. Be you, but do it at the best version of yourself you can.
So what's the biggest misconception people have about visibility?
Oh man, the biggest misconception is people think they need to be a content creator. You don't need to be a content creator to be visible. You just need to be strategic with what content you put out and the frequency of doing that. And so, we talk a lot about that, whether it's PDP Media or Hustling 25/8. I want to help people navigate and map that out. Let's say you're a side hustler and you're running your own business on the side. Well, how do I create content at a pace that's actually going to drive revenue for myself and my business? So that's what visibility is about, showing up in ways that actually impact and influence you. If, let's say, you are a manager and you've always been vying for that director level role, how can I use visibility to position myself for those opportunities? And a lot of people don't understand that you create these cliques, or you get included in these cliques or these networks within each corporate office, and you may find yourself in a clique that's not beneficial for you, that's going to help you get to the next level. So this is where visibility come into place. How do I move beyond that to position myself where people can see me at the level that I need them to see me, so I can get that opportunity that I actually wanted? And that's the importance of visibility. It's not just being a TV star or reality star like I am, because I did all that, but I'm just saying, use your visibility.
What's the transformation you've seen through your work?
Oh man, I just think the comments, people sliding your DMs, or the engagement I get on my content that I put out, like how impactful and how it resonated with them, or they say it's spot on, or they found it insightful. Like that speaks to me, because I feel like I'm a servant leader. Like I lead with tons of empathy. I lead with a big heart, because I care about people. I care about the impact that they make. So that's important to me. So when people just slide in my DMs or they leave a comment, that means the world to me, because that means I'm touching somebody. And for me, it was never about impacting the whole world. It was about touching one person. And if that's your focus, then you can help so many other people just by helping that one person. Yeah.
What does it take to build a brand with integrity and impact?
Money, money. I say that, listen, being an entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart. You're going to spend a lot of money, and you may need to have 2 or 3 different credit cards because you may end up maxing those things out. This is, listen, it's betting on yourself at the highest level.
Yes, it is.
It's at the highest level because you're spending so much money for that branding and visibility. People don't understand this, and I want to help you understand this. If you want to create a brand for yourself, not only is it consistency, but it's systems to help you maintain consistency. And what a lot of people don't understand, well, what the freak is a system? Systems is all the tools that you use behind the scenes, whether it's accounting, whether it's AI tools, whether it's quick, whatever it happens to be, that's going to help you be at your most efficient so you can do what you want to do at your highest level. So you have to invest in those tools to be to grow a brand. It takes money to be spotlighted. I have so many of these different awards where they've came to me and they say, hey, we want to feature on this, that, and the other, but you still have to pay for the publication, right? Or you still have to pay for you still have to pay for the award if you want the award. So there's branding that comes into that. And then there's also putting yourself out there and collaborating in such a way, because if you're going to grow a brand, your brand is generally not solo. You may be a solopreneur, but it takes other people around you to help amplify your brand. So you have to get strategic enough where I'm connecting, collaborating, and networking and putting myself in the right rooms and or circles that's going to help influence and grow your brand. So that's going to be just as important as everything else too. And being transparent. Entrepreneurship, you have to be transparent with, one, yourself, two, your family. Okay. Because the journey is tough within itself. But if you don't have the right support system, you can flame out before you even get started. So I just want to share that bit of information with people as well. Creating a brand takes some time, takes some support, it takes resources, and has the right tools and systems in place.
What are some of those things from the initial perspective when those that are looking at trying to build a brand, those that are trying to build a business, those are trying to learn networking? What are some of those things that they should initially think about and initiating a process to make these things happen?
Yeah, one is, who is your audience? You got to think of who is your audience. What problems or solutions do you provide? You have to think about that when you're building your brand. You need to be forward thinking. Think about, if I had all the resources in the world, every bit of money in the world, what would I look like 4, 5, 6, 10 years from now? You have to be thinking of that. Or what would the maturation of my brand look like? You have to be forward thinking is what I'm getting at. So if you're not forward thinking, you may or may not be ready for entrepreneurship yet, because it takes a lot of forward thinking. You're thinking past the situation that you find yourself in. You're thinking what success actually looks like, and then you're working your way back into that success. So I would tell you to start there. Start with your vision. Let's start networking and collaborating. Get your resources, your money right. You need to have at least, I tell people, at least 6 months to a year of reserves that it's not play money. This is investment money. And then you need to start strategically aligning yourself with other people who's willing to support your vision or your brand grow so you can help amplify it.
So, how do you balance creativity with strategy in your media work?
That's a good question. How do you balance creativity with strategy? For me, it still goes back to your vision board. What's your vision? What is your vision? And I've always envisioned myself having not only multiple businesses, but multiple streams of revenue. So what does those multiple streams of revenue look like for me, right? Whether that happens to be newsletter, whether it happens to be merchandising, whether it happens to be public speaking, whether it happens to be, acting, whatever that happens to be. I always leave room open for opportunity while I'm still keeping my vision alive. So learning how to pivot and understand that, hey, I've been doing this for 3 or 4 months and I'm not getting the return on investment that I'm looking for. It may be time to pivot. I think that's going to be something that you need to be thinking about as well. But then sometimes I may have been doing this 3 or 4 months. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm not doing it right. So you're doing that self-learning, or collaborating with other people, or picking up a coach or mentor to help you develop the skills that you don't have. Using all your resources, you have to do that as you grow as an entrepreneur. Otherwise, you're going to get stuck. You're going to feel siloed. You're going to feel by yourself. The weight's going to get heavy. You're going to go broke in the process. And then you're going to end up in a position working for a company that you really don't want to work for. So let's get strategic and let's make it do what it do.
Well, I got one more comment here. This is from Misha Fisher, and she says, great conversation. Thank you, Misha. I'm glad that you're listening and continue to watch. And please make sure that we connect after the show, because I definitely am trying to connect with you to have you as a guest.
Yes, let's go, Misha. Let's go. Connect with me too. I want to connect with her, especially if she's going to be a guest.
So, what mistake entrepreneurs make when telling their story?
Leaving out the details, like the facts. I would say almost every entrepreneur has a struggle story. Every entrepreneur almost went broke. Every entrepreneur had those moments of doubt. And honestly, and if I'm being quite honest with everybody, I have doubt, man, maybe a week, every single week. Like seriously, like real talk. You doubt yourself. But this is where the confidence come into place. This is where your systems come into place. This is where your vision boards come into place. Because if you're following your systems, if you're following your vision, if you're doing the work that you're supposed to be doing, you can overcome a lot of those struggles that we all face. We all face it as entrepreneurs. So I don't want to sit here and tell you guys you're not going to be sad. You're not going to cry. You're not going to feel like you're broke. You're not going to feel like you don't supposed to belong in a room. You're not going to feel like you're playing on fair ground, because all of that comes through your head. But you have to lean on what you know. You have to lean on what you've been through. You have to lean on your faith, and all that's going to help you navigate and push forward. So that's my 2 cents.
Now I got to say, I think when you say that, and some of those things that you said earlier, they resonate because they are real. I think for most of us that are going into entrepreneurship, you're right about the one thing, and that is, you're going to need money, but I can guarantee you, if you may have started out with this beautiful credit score of 830,
Oh yeah,
I can guarantee you that thing is going to slide.
Oh, absolutely, because you're leveraging debt, and that's a big thing too. Is you could be an entrepreneur, but my big thing too is being an entrepreneur is already risky, but you have to learn how to take additional risk in becoming an entrepreneur. So that may means maxing out a credit card. That may means taking out these high interest rate loans. That may be betting on yourself. Like a lot of that comes with being an entrepreneur. And that's the dirty secret that a lot of people don't know. Man, I've been there, done that. And then you work hard to pay back those debts, but your credit score does take a hit. I remember one day when I first started this journey, and this is I'm not trying to gloat, but my 8 score was like 820, right? And then at one point it went down to I think it was like 711, which 711 is still a good score. It's still a good score. You don't mind me. But we're talking about 115 point difference. Man, I finally worked to get my score back in the 800s, but it comes with the territory, man. Leveraging debt. So if you haven't seen it, I thought it was very powerful. I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan. I live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So Dallas Cowboys has always been my team, but we haven't won a Super Bowl in over 30 years. Where am I going with this? Well, they released a Netflix special with Jerry Jones, and he talks about, the risk that he took and the sacrifices he made to buy the Dallas Cowboys, and how they were leveraging debt and almost going broke. And now they're America's team, and they worth like $13-16 billion, right? Only because of the risk that he took. So that gave me a new perspective, new insight into Jerry Jones thinking, even though I still think we need our own GM, but I respect the moves that he made, right? And these may be similar moves that you need to make as well in your career as an entrepreneur, as a hustler. How do we leverage risk, taking the right risk, being in the right room, saying the right thing, doing the right thing at the right time, and it may be impactful for you to grow your career.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna move over to another section here, but Misha just responded to the last statement, and she says for sure she's eager to connect with us all.
Let's go, Misha. Let's go. Let's go.
Looking forward to it. Let's transition over to Hustling 25-8.
Yes.
So first of all, tell us, what does Hustling 25-8 truly mean to you?
Yes. I'm glad you brought that up. I named it Hustling 25/8 because in life it feels like that's what we're doing. It feels like we're hustling around the clock 24. And Hustling 25/8 is all it is street vernacular that hey, we're getting our grind on, right? That's what Hustling 25/8 means. But it also carries this undertone or this negative connotation that makes people think it's negative or I got to hustle forever. And actually, it's quite opposite of that. Hustling 25/8 for me means purposefully, strategically driven to hit the goals that you want for yourself. That's what Hustling 25/8 is. All we're doing is we're mapping out the scene, we're making the connections, we're making the right moves where we don't have to hustle 25/8. We're using our network and our hustle to hustle for us. So we're no longer hustling 25/8, but Hustling 25/8 resonates with so many people who find themselves in the in I guess in the stresses of life, right? In the hustle. And so that's what Hustling 25/8 is about. Is hey, I see you, I've been there. We can get past this together. So come and join along Hustling 25/8 strategic movements to amplify your brand, your presence, and create the lifestyle that you were looking to create for yourself.
I want you to take some time, if you would, to please explain that newsletter because, when you first put out your newsletter, I mean, I read your newsletter every time you put one out. But for those that have not, can you just kind of like break that down as to the stuff that you're putting in your newsletter is very useful. It's
Yeah.
very useful. It's very meaningful and purposeful. But I think a lot of people might not get some of the vernacular to maybe understand the main purpose of your newsletter.
Yeah, great point. The main purpose of the newsletter is to help you navigate where you're trying to go. Okay. A year ago, when I started hustling 25/8, it was just 100% solely on LinkedIn. And what I was creating content that would actually speak to where people found themselves. So it was motivational, insightful content to give you this belief that you can be a greater version of yourself. So it was all insights and motivation. Here in 2026, I transitioned Hustling 25/8 to make it more action focused, action backed. Now, we've already been inspired, we've already been motivated. Now, what do we do? So, this is where we're at now for Hustling 25/8. Now, we want to take everything, we built up our confidence, we built up our strength, we built up our energy, we built up our vision, right? So, now let's get strategic. Well, how do we use that information now? So, Hustling 25/8 today is just a roadmap, it's a playbook to help us make the move so we can develop the life that we want. So if you're a mid-level professional, if you're an entrepreneur, things that I talk about is, and I just kicked this thing off. I just kicked this thing off 7, 8 days ago, right? We could talk about mid-level professional. How do we navigate, get in this room, move to the next room? How do we get from that room, move to the next room? What do I need to do to go from here to here? We can talk about that professionally. Let's say we're an entrepreneur and I have a coaching business. Well, what's the right message to slide in somebody's DMs to help create an open a conversation? How do I move somebody from interest to actually paying? So we talk a lot about that, the tools, the techniques, the strategies that are needed to get you from here to here. That's what Hustling 25/8 is about today. So yeah, join me for the ride. Another thing that I'm doing too, because I'm an entrepreneur, because I like fear, because I like visibility, because I like putting myself out there, I'm also building this in public. And what I mean by that, daily, Monday through Friday at noon Central, you can tap into my events page. And I'm always going to have a daily live talking to you about how do you build $1 million business and do it in 12 months. So I'm doing it in real time. I'm showing you guys in action. This is what it looks like. I'm showing you the moves that I'm making. I'm showing you how to collaborate with somebody. I'm showing you the systems that I'm actually using to create the network and the influence that I'm designing as well. So all that is beginning to unfold this year. And that's what Hustling 25/8 is about this year.
This philosophy become a lifestyle instead of a slogan?
Say that again.
How did this philosophy become a lifestyle instead of a slogan?
Well, I think it gets back to what we were talking about before. To create a brand and have influence, it generally takes not only visibility, but it takes some type of capital. You got to invest money in yourself, right? And so that became one of these things for me. I'm going to be hustling 25/8 because I feel like this is what I need to be doing. Like I was purposefully led to be here. I'm moving in faith, and faith is telling me there's a bigger impact that needs to be made. Now, am I for profit? Absolutely. You listen, a lot of people think just because you move in faith, it means you're broke, you don't make any money. No, that's not what it means. It means I'm moving in my purpose, which is to impact and influence and help people design a lifestyle that they're looking to create for themselves, but it's also for profit. So I want to show you how to make money while making money as well. And that's what Hustling 25-8 is about. And that's what I've always lived on right now since I became an entrepreneur. I'm going to continue to hustle for myself, for the dreams that I have for myself. And if I do it right, it's going to have an impact. It's going to have a ripple effect across the world.
Now, that's a great lead in, because this question is definitely one that, I mean, we really want to hear this answer.
Yeah.
What separates hustling from effective hustling?
The last part you cut out. Hustling from what?
Effective hustling.
That's strategy. It's just vision and strategy. A lot of people don't believe this, man, but it's real. One, if you have a vision, you have to write it down, and it amplifies that vision. It amplifies that dream. Two is, if you can dream at night, you can get up in the morning and you can write down that dream. If it's a dream that you really want to accomplish. Now what we want to do is we want to go from dreaming to action. I don't want you to dream anymore. I want to say, okay, dude, that dream, that was a really good dream. It scares the shit out of me. How do I get it? And I talked a lot about this in my book. I talked a lot of this on my NBC special when I was featured by NBC News. Is I want you to dream so freaking big that not only does it scare the crap out of you, but these dreams are dreams that nobody's in your family's ever accomplished before. These dreams are so big that no one in your circle of influence has actually decided that they wanted to do for themselves. That's what dreaming big is about, right? I want you to dream so freaking big it scares the crap out of you so much that you're actually scared to share it with somebody else. And that's me. This is where I'm at. I'm still in this dream world. My dreams are bigger than my check-ins and savings. It's bigger than the tools and systems that I have in place right now. But I'm working and navigating through it. And then I can do that with the support of other people who look like you. And, thank you for the platform. Thank you for the podcast. This is only going to help me amplify my brand, my reach, and my presence. So that's what it's about.
Do you want to respond to this comment here?
What you got? Amen. Move in faith, because successfully to make a greater impact. Absolutely. I mean, it's that's what I'm about right there. It's purpose. I'm a visionary, focused on making money, but the core of what I do is impact. Because if I can make money and have a great impact, man, I feel fulfilled. Like my cup is flowing over. And that's what I absolutely love it. And so being this entrepreneur today, I'm grateful for this opportunity. I'm grateful for the work that I've been doing. And I just thank, the continued support that I receive around the world, literally. Like I'm connecting with people in London, Europe, Australia, Tokyo. I mean, my followers have been growing like crazy, which is amazing. But the impact, it just starts with that one person.
The biggest sacrifice people don't see behind your grind.
Family, man. Family's a big sacrifice, because to be, at least for me, doing what I'm doing, you can create all the systems in the world, but when you're extremely focused on what you're doing, you're giving your all, at least I am, into what I'm doing. So what that means is there's things that I give up, outings with the family, random things that, the family wants to do together. I'm not doing that because I'm focused on the grind right now. I feel like this is a small piece of my life that I'm sacrificing so I can get my tools and systems streamlined so where I can give back more at some other time. But those are sacrifices you got to decide, are they worth it? Those sacrifices you want to make. And then have you clearly communicated with your family or your supporters that, hey, this is the stage that you're in. This is what they can expect. This is what they cannot expect, whatever. You have to get extremely clear, because once you get that buy-in, it allows you to not only move with purpose, but to move strategically with action.
Stay grounded while moving at such a high pace.
Purpose, right? Faith, purpose and faith and vision. That's it. Now I simplified that because I can get long-winded at times. I like to talk, family. But that's it, man. Those three things: purpose, faith, and vision. You stay focused on that, and the rest is going to take care of itself.
Over to media presence and recognition. What did it feel like being featured on NBC5 News?
That was thrilling. That was so live. It was so fearful too. Like, I don't know, if my audience can resonate with this, but I've always been one of those guys. I love going to like theme parks, and I want to get on the roller coasters because that first drop, you know it's getting ready to come. You climbing up, you're climbing up, you're climbing up, you're climbing up, and then you know that baby's about to drop, right? That's what that was like, man. You're like you're climbing up, you're climbing up, climbing up. Then those lights come on, kind of like what you have here on your podcast. The top of this, people probably can't see it. It says on air. So whenever
Mhm.
you're on air, what does that mean? People can see you. There's a performance happening. People can actually listen to you. They can vibe with you. They can understand you. Like that's what it's about for me. It's that experience. It's that fear, navigating through it, pushing myself past it, and then embracing the moment, being fully present in that moment. So I love moments like this. I love the feedback. I love Misha and everybody else has been commenting. I love being uncomfortable only because I know I'm growing. So thank y'all.
How did it feel being recognized by Black leaders worldwide?
Oh, that's everything. That's everything. Here's there's listen, we can all get awards, we can all get trophies, we can get accolades and all that. But when you're being recognized by your peers,
Mhm.
people who look like you, man, dude, forget about it. Like, man, I cried. I literally cried because I was so thankful and grateful that the work that I've been doing is actually being recognized and seen by other people who look like me. So it meant everything to me, man.
So what did your Marquise who induction mean to you?
Oh, that I cried on that too. Let me say this for everybody. I'm a big crybaby, okay? I'm a 40-something-year-old man who's always emotionally have all my emotions on my sleeve, but I'm also a great leader. I know how to impact and influence people. So I lead with empathy. But that meant the world to me because, at the time I won that award last year. And by that time, my mom was gone for like 3.5 years. And it just allowed me to reflect on all the sacrifices that she made as a single Black female, the hustle and the journey that she went through from, shooting dice in the street, from being strung out on crack cocaine during the 80s, to us being evicted multiple different times, to me going to all these different elementary schools. What that meant is I was able to carry the torch for what my mom left to me. Like what we do as parents, we want our kids to have a better life than us. And that's what we work for, right? Mom, you did that. Thank you.
Your experience like on the blocks?
What was it like?
Yes.
It was
What was
actually, dude, it was actually nerve wracking. It was probably one of the, I would say, the biggest scenes where I truly had imposter syndrome. I had imposter syndrome because I was a new entrepreneur at that point, and then I'm surrounded with all these people. They've been entrepreneurs for 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 years, and they've been doing their own thing. Navigating this world by themselves. I've always been this corporate executive, so I knew how to take a system. I knew how to hire employees. I knew how to create playbooks to impact, from a revenue standpoint. I knew how to do sales and marketing, do all these great things, but I didn't know how to be an entrepreneur yet. And so when I'm sitting in that room with 100 other people who are on that entrepreneurial journey with me, and I was one of 100 out of 50,000 who actually applied to be on the show. So this is a small group of people who I met. So one, I'm already amazed that I'm in the room. Two is I'm looking at these people who are doing these dope things. They're making millions of dollars in their own professional journey as an entrepreneur. And here I'm coming in here with no dollars. And so I felt like an imposter. So much so that, man, I think it was probably day 3, day 4. I really had to take a step back, sit down, and just process where I'm at, what am I doing, why am I doing it? And that imposter syndrome came on heavy. And it took me a good 30 minutes, like seriously sitting down by myself, processing everything that's going on and allowing myself to continue on and push forward and move through it. So it was probably one of the most daunting experiences that I had, but I'm grateful for the opportunity. And I learned so much, not only about myself, but also how to better myself as an entrepreneur.
How do you stay authentic while becoming more visible?
Oh, just like this, man, keeping it real. Like I don't really hide anything, dude. I mean, we talked about credit cards debts. I mean, it was thousands of dollars in credit card debt. We talked about the emotional toll, me crying. I still have videos that I haven't posted yet. And at some point, I'm going to be like Kanye West and I'm going to post all these videos of me crying. I was going to talk about, I knew I was a genius. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got all the stories. I got the receipts to show you, dude, where all the doubt was real. That's what keeps me motivated. Sometimes I go back and look at that stuff and be like, man, 2 years ago, that was you. Look at you now. Right. And then even though I feel a certain type of way today, I know I can come back 2 years from now, knock on wood, I'm still here, and be like, you remember when you did that? And so all that keeps me grounded, that keeps me moving forward, and then just staying faithful and focused on the vision, it helps out tremendously.
Up to your platforms and impact. So can you tell us what inspired Health Hustle Chronicles?
Yes. Health Hustle Chronicles is a podcast of mine where I was spotlighting leaders specifically in the healthcare space to help tell their story, right? It was basically an extension of PDP Media, but it's give people a platform, voice versus video, right? So I felt like it was a good, not only transition, but it was a good instrument to have as part of my journey, as part of my digital media collection. And now, honestly, dude, I haven't recorded an episode in a year only because I've been focused strategically. I wouldn't say it's a year, it's been less than a year, strategically on what the next version of my life looks like. What does success look like from here? What does my impact look like from there? So right now it's a placeholder, but I'm going to bring it back, and it's going to be more of me talking directly to you like I'm doing now, so we can share these stories. And still hustling 25/8. Health Hustle Chronicles is all about the hustle. And I named it Health Hustle Chronicles because I had an expansive background in healthcare. I tagged myself that healthcare guy because healthcare is one of the biggest industries in the world that actually support the needs of the people who need it most. So you can get healthcare from around the world. So being that healthcare guy, it resonated with my background, but it resonated with the impact and that I'm trying to lead with going forward in 2026 and beyond.
Messages do you want people to take from broke to boardroom?
The message that I want people to take from it is it's really about the resiliency. To go from broke to boardroom, it takes the mindset that not only do you believe in yourself, that you can accomplish whatever you want, but you're also focused on those goals for yourself. Going from broke to boardroom is a mindset, right? It is going to take you doing the work. You have to do the work, but you have to be mentally strapped in, locked in. If you're going to go from broke to boardroom, you can't focus on what happened to you yesterday. At some point, you have to brush that off, and we got to move forward. What happened yesterday? What I learned from that is that I'm still resilient. I'm still here. Now I want to take those understandings, those messaging, and continue to build and develop from that. So that's what it's all about. It's the mindset that we can become the best version of ourselves at any given time.
Hustling 25/8. Help people transform their lives.
It is because the way it helps you transform is about giving you the tools, the playbook, the systems that I've picked up along the way. This is what a lot of people are missing, right? When they start a business, they have a vision, but they don't have the tools. You may have capital, but you still don't have systems. You may have, you can create content, but you don't have support. You need all these various things as you continue to grow. So what I'm bringing you with Hustle 25/8, I give you a little bit of everything. There's a platform. We can show visibility. I'm going to share the tools that I personally use to help build my brand. I'm also going to share you the frameworks and the playbooks that I've used to help build my brand as well as my influence. And, I know it's going to benefit you as well. So I invite you to sign up for Hustling 25/8. Do that today, not tomorrow, but do it absolutely today. I have two goals with Hustle 25/8. We're going to grow $1 million in revenue, and we're going to do it in 1 year. We're in day 20, and I only kicked this thing off like last week, Monday of last week. So I waited intentionally for a couple of weeks because I wanted to get people past their New Year's resolution, right? Because everybody starts these New Year's resolutions, and by week 2, you're like, okay, now what am I going to do? Well, let's lean into ourselves. Let's lean into the vision that we have for ourselves. Let's grow our careers. Let's grow personal wealth. Let's grow our side hustle. Let's grow our business. And we can do that with Hustle 25/8.
What role does storytelling play in leadership?
Everything. Storytelling is everything. In fact, if you look at, a lot of us, we watched the national championship game last night, right? Miami was playing Indiana. Or you watch boxing or UFC or any sporting event, soccer. And before the game comes on, there's always the sportcasters. They come on at least an hour before the game actually kicks off. What are they doing? They're building an excitement around the game. How do they build that excitement around the game? They give you the personal insights and stories to the players that are on the field, the impact that they're trying to make, the journey that they went through. All that is powerful stuff to not only get your blood pumping, but to keep you engaged, because now we got a personal investment into that particular player or that team. And so that's what storytelling can do for you. It can actually amplify your message or your brand in such a way it's going to resonate with people who actually sees value in that story.
Why is visibility not optional for Black professionals and entrepreneurs?
Oh man, too many times we get passed over for opportunities. Too many times we're not placing ourselves in the right situation. I was an executive of a company that sold for $750 million. We're talking about $250 million shy of $1 billion, right? It sold for $750 million. And I was one of the key members on that team. Absolutely powerful. How did I do that? I got out of my belief system. I put myself in rooms that made me uncomfortable. And then I told myself I can be the best version of myself and I can show up with presence each and every time. This is what visibility do for you. On that journey, so many people who looked like me was 100 times smarter than me. They were head down doing the work behind the scenes to help us create the evaluation for those money managers to actually gobble us up. But they wasn't in the room when the transaction went down. When that bell struck and the check was signed and that money started going from account to account, they wasn't there, but I was. So that was a reflection period for me. It's like, well, why are these people not in that room, right? And that's what visibility did. Visibility helped me get in that room. And I want more and more people who look like us to get visible, to get actionable, to find your voice. That was the biggest thing I found as an executive, how to speak up for myself in rooms that actually mattered in a way where people were actually, they want to learn more from you. And this is what we need to do if we're going to be in the spaces that's going to help amplify our brand, our presence, and also our check-ins and savings. We got to get it right.
Transition over here to legacy and future. What legacy are you intentionally building?
Oh man, one of impact. What I raised boys. I got 4 older boys. I told you they range from 35 now. My oldest son is 35. My youngest is 21. So I have all boys. And remember, I shared with you, they've never experienced the hustle before. They never really had to hustle for anything. They never experienced a bad, say, moment, in life in our household. None of that is happening, right? And so, as a young leader, having all this military training, having this corporate experience, my legacy was always about, I wanted to give my kids opportunities. This is something that most of us don't have. When you grow up broke, when you grew up struggling, the only thing you're looking for is an opportunity. You're not looking for a handout. I'm looking for an opportunity to show people that I'm worth it. I'm worth the bet. I'm worth the risk. I'm worth it 100%, right? And so this is what I'm teaching my boys first, and then sharing it with the world, is that if you do it right, you can afford yourself opportunities, and then those opportunities can be passed down to other people as well. So for me, it's all about opportunities to make decisions in your life that you want to make. We're not making them out of fear or out of risk or out of you can make them just because I want to make them, and you get that.
Question: what's next for Patrick Hart, PDP Media, and Hustling 25/8?
I don't claim to know the future, but I can't claim to continue to have a big dream and vision. And so this year, we're all focused on Hustling 25/8, building that out to $1 million, continuing to impact and influence other people on that journey, having 50,000 subscribers on there. And why is that so important? The money is important. It's not as important to me. Like the $1 million will be life changing for a lot of people, but for me, is the strategy behind making $1 million is to prove to people with the right work ethic, with the right systems, with the right tools and strategies that you can grow your wealth to $1 million and only do it in 12 months, right? So that's the first part of it. The 50,000 people, I'm creating an ecosystem. In that ecosystem, we can begin to network and learn from one another. That's the real player move right there. That's the impact right there. Once you have your own ecosystem of people and you can start moving them along and doing things, it creates so many different opportunities. So that becomes the baseline, the foundation of what growth looks like for me going forward. So I'll just leave it at that.
In closing, what are some words of wisdom and encouragement that you have for our guests, how they can connect with you on social media, links for your website, those good things that you like for them to know?
Oh, absolutely. My tag name is That Healthcare Guy, THAT Healthcare Guy. You can put that in any your social media search bar. You may be able to pull me up that way, or use my first name Patrick, last name is Hart, Hart, kind of like Kevin Hart. People ask me if we're related. Absolutely not. I'm a little bit taller, but he's a lot funnier, and his checkings and savings is so much bigger than mine. But I admire the crap out of him because his work ethic. So That Healthcare Guy or Patrick Hart, you connect with me that way. And then also in there, and the links in my bios, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, all of those have my information in there. You can go to the Blink account. All my information is there. You can connect with me that way. Phone numbers, email addresses, my newsletter, everything is in one spot. So you want to connect with me there. And then I guess my messaging for everybody is, listen, if you can dream it, real talk, if you can dream it, then there's a way you can navigate it. And what we want to do is we want to navigate it to create the life that you wanted for yourself, the life that you truly deserve, the truth that you work for. Let's get it. Let's do it together. So let's keep hustling.
Well, before I close, I want to tell you I appreciate you for being here, and I appreciate the knowledge, your story for what it means and what it displays, and the positive message, that we like to continue to send when it comes to this platform. And truly, I want to tell you that again, it contributes to the Black excellence that has been here. It's what's going to continue to grow as the show grows, and it's professionals like yourself again that I really want this audience to more than just get just a load of the work that you're doing, but also get some of that resilience and get some of that encouragement to go out there and take that opportunity or make that chance to make their lives that much better, especially if that's what they're thinking to do.
Absolutely.
And uh, so just in closing, I just want to say these closing words for everyone tonight. Stating to you, Patrick, tonight you reminded us that visibility is not vanity. It's strategy, it's ownership, and it's liberation. Your journey from the army to the boardroom to the media world is a testament to what happens when discipline meets purpose and when a man decides to bet on himself without apology. You've shown us that storytelling is powerful, that leadership is service, and that hustle, real hustle, is about consistency, clarity, and calling. Thank you for pouring into our audience, for lifting the veil on the process, and for reminding us that our stories matter. Family, keep pushing, keep building, and keep owning your narrative. Because as Patrick Hart has shown us tonight, when you own your story, you own your future. This has been America in Black and White. I'm your host, Charles King. Good night and keep rising. And for those of you that have not subscribed yet, for those of you that are on our YouTube channels, please do us the favor of supporting us by subscribing and enabling all notifications, because whenever we're doing the shows and the shows are live, you'll get the notifications, you'll catch the shows live. You'll also have the opportunity to go back and watch each and every last one of our previous recorded shows and get the knowledge that our guests are leaving. Thank you again, Patrick. Thank everybody that has participated tonight. And we will definitely see you guys tomorrow night here on America in Black and White, where we will continue to color conversations on the canvas of America.